Think about the digital friction you tolerate every single day.
Oh, there's so much of it.
Right. I mean, if you want to move data from a client email into your CRM, you're physically highlighting the text, switching tabs, pasting it.
And just hoping you didn't miss a line somewhere in the process.
Exactly. Or if you need to understand a new market trend, you type this fragmented query into a search bar. Then you open like 12 different tabs, dodge all the cookie consent pop-ups, and try to synthesize the information in your own head.
Yeah, it's exhausting. For the last 2 decades, operating on the internet has basically been like driving a heavy manual transmission truck.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, you are the one constantly grinding the gears, You're acting as the human API between software that just refuses to talk to each other.
You are providing the manual labor to operate the machine.
Precisely. But the shift we are seeing, and what the sources from Peakpod AI really focus on today, is this massive transition from manual operation to conversational command.
We're stepping into a self-driving car.
Exactly. We are moving into an environment where your primary role is simply to state your destination. And the underlying systems, they handle the clutch, the steering, the navigation, all of it.
So our mission today is to really unpack that blueprint for you.
Yeah.
We're doing a deep dive into 3 specific tools analyzed by Peakpod AI. We're looking at Perplexity AI, Bolt.new, and N8N.
Which is a killer lineup on
It really is.
Right.
And look, whether you are scaling a startup, maybe auditing your company's tech stack, or you're just trying to reclaim, I don't know, 10 hours of your week, understanding the mechanics behind these tools is absolutely critical.
Because they don't just represent these, incremental little updates.
Right. It's a fundamental rewiring. It's changing how we gather information, how we build architecture, and how we execute daily operations.
Yeah. And, well, before any code gets written or any system gets automated, you have to map the territory, right? Every project begins with an information deficit.
Always. You have to figure out what you're dealing with first.
Exactly. And historically, resolving that deficit meant querying a traditional search engine, which operates on an indexing model. You input keywords, and the engine searches its vast index to return a directory of URLs.
It essentially gives you a reading list.
Yes, a reading list. And the cognitive burden of actually extracting the answer, that is entirely on you.
Which brings us to the first tool, Perplexity AI, because it abandons that whole directory model completely.
It really does. It's a totally different paradigm.
But looking at the actual mechanics of how it does this is where it gets really interesting. It's not just a standard LLM, a large language model that was trained on a bunch of data 2 years ago and is just guessing the next word in a sentence.
Right, because that leads to hallucinations.
Exactly. Instead, it uses a framework called RGRE, which is Retrieval Augmented Generation.
And that mechanism is the key differentiator. When you ask Perplexity a complex question, say you're asking it to analyze the latest trends in quantum computing,
or, like the source mentioned, comparing the specific sensor specs of 3 different cameras under $1,000.
Right, a very specific multi-layered question. It doesn't rely on its internal static memory to answer that.
So what does it do instead?
The reasoning engine actually translates your natural language into multiple, highly optimized search queries behind the scenes. It actively scrapes the top-ranking web pages in real time, pulling that raw text directly into its context window.
So it's effectively doing the tab opening and the speed reading for you, but in milliseconds.
Exactly. It pulls all that external, unstructured data into its temporary memory, synthesizes it, and then generates a conversational summary for you.
And because of that RAG architecture, it solves the most massive hurdle in AI adoption, which we just touched on, the hallucination problem.
Oh, absolutely. Because it forces the language model to base its generation strictly on the retrieved text, so it can map every single claim it makes right back to the original URL.
It provides inline citations.
Yes. You aren't just trusting this opaque black box neural network anymore. You are presented with a synthesized report, complete with footnotes.
Which is huge for trust. If a claim seems dubious, you just click the footnote and verify the source yourself.
It transforms AI from this definitive oracle into a collaborative research assistant.
I do want to introduce a little bit of nuance here, though. Let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Sure, go for it.
Because the narrative around these tools often defaults to, oh, this is the Google killer.
Right, you hear that everywhere.
But if we look at the actual utility, if I just need to find the login page for my company's payroll portal, or, I need the physical address of the bakery down the street, I don't want a 3-paragraph beautifully synthesized explanation of a croissant.
Right, you just want the navigational link.
Exactly. I just need to get to the page. Do I really need an AI for that?
And the source material actually draws a very sharp line there. Traditional search engines like Google, they remain entirely unmatched for discovery and navigational queries.
Okay, so if you know exactly where you want to go, you still use a directory.
Yes, exactly. But Perplexity monopolizes understanding.
Understanding.
When
Well,
you are trying to comprehend a novel concept, or aggregate conflicting opinions, or research a broad market, the friction of that traditional search model becomes a massive bottleneck.
because you're the one doing all the synthesis.
Exactly. So the paradigm shifts from you searching for data to an AI agent organizing that data on your behalf.
Okay, so Perplexity proves that an AI system can successfully retrieve and synthesize external unstructured data.
Right.
But the natural evolution of that is asking, well, if an AI can synthesize information, can it synthesize functional structural architecture?
Well, that's the big question.
Because once you've mapped your market and you understand your landscape, just researching isn't enough. You have to actually build the product.
And historically, building a digital product required a highly specialized translation layer.
I mean, develop.
Basically, yeah, you had a concept in natural language, but to make the computer execute it, you had to translate that concept into the strict, unforgiving syntax of programming languages.
You had to learn to code yourself, or you had to hire a massive engineering team.
Right. You know, we've seen early AI coding assistants try to tackle this.
Yeah, but they usually just function as like really advanced autocomplete.
Exactly. You are still the developer in the IDE writing the core logic, and the AI just suggests a 10-line snippet of Python or React to save you some typing.
It's like going to a restaurant, but instead of walking into the kitchen to chop the vegetables yourself, you just hand the head chef your exact recipe and watch them cook the whole meal.
That's a great way to look at it. But the second tool from Peakpod AI, Bolt.new, operates on an entirely different level of abstraction.
How so?
Well, Bolt.new eliminates the local development environment almost entirely.
Wait, entirely.
Pretty much. To understand the friction it removes, think about what it usually takes just to start coding. A developer has to configure a local environment, install package managers, deal with all these dependency conflicts.
Oh man, dependency conflicts are the worst.
They are. And then you have to set up local servers. I mean, it can take hours before a single line of actual product code is even written.
So how does Bolt.new bypass all of that?
By utilizing something called web containers.
Yeah.
It actually runs a full Node.js environment directly inside your browser.
Okay, so the AI isn't just generating text that looks like code and hoping you know what to do with it.
Not at all. You just type a prompt.
Yeah.
Like, create a task management app with secure user authentication and a drag and drop interface.
And it just builds it.
Yeah. Bolt.new provisions the environment, writes the front-end UI, builds the back-end logic, connects the necessary databases, and actively runs the application in a preview window right next to your chat.
That is insane. So you can see it working immediately.
Exactly. The mechanism of action here is a continuous iterative loop.
What happens if it makes a mistake, though? Like if it writes bad code?
That's the best part. If the AI writes a piece of code that throws a dependency error, it doesn't just stop and wait for you to debug it.
Because it's running in that live environment.
Right. Because it has access to that live environment inside the browser, the AI can read the terminal error, recognize its own mistake, rewrite the code, and redeploy the fix.
Often before you even realize an error occurred, I bet.
Precisely. It's not just an architect drawing a blueprint. It's an architect where the act of describing the building simultaneously pours the concrete, wires the electricity, and inspects the plumbing.
You are communicating in natural language, and the output is full-stack software.
The implications for prototyping are just staggering. It democratizes the 0 to 1 phase of product development.
So founders or designers or product managers who have deep domain expertise but lack syntax knowledge, they can now instantiate their ideas in hours.
Yes, they can validate a working prototype in the market without needing a massive initial capital investment for an engineering team.
But let's look at the upper limits of this, because there's always a catch, right? You can't just type, build me a scalable rival to Airbnb and then walk away.
No, definitely not.
There are strict technical boundaries. I mean, language models have context windows, a limit on how much information they can actually remember in a single session.
Exactly. And if an application gets complex enough, with hundreds of interconnected components and intricate state management, an AI is going to lose the plot.
That is the critical limitation highlighted in the sources, right?
Yeah, they were very clear about that. Bolt.new is a phenomenal accelerant for greenfield projects, starting from scratch. But when it comes to maintaining enterprise-level legacy code bases or optimizing for complex security architectures,
Or managing nuanced database scaling.
exactly. In those cases, human oversight is absolutely mandatory. We are not replacing senior engineers here.
We are just dramatically shifting their focus.
Yes. Instead of writing boilerplate code, engineers will spend their time reviewing AI-generated architecture, testing for vulnerabilities, and solving high-level logic problems.
The AI provides the velocity, and the human provides the governance.
That's a perfect summary.
Okay, so let's track the progression here. We've used the RAG architecture of Perplexity to understand the market without drowning in tabs.
Right.
We've leveraged the web containers of Bolt.new to speak our application into existence and launch a working product.
Yep, the product is live.
The system goes live, customers start interacting with the product, and the moment a system goes live, it generates an immense amount of operational drag.
Oh, the success disaster.
The success disaster, exactly. You build the product to free up your time, but suddenly your entire day is consumed by administrative triage.
You are routing customer support tickets, manually updating CRM records, managing calendar conflicts, writing internal update summaries for your team. It's a nightmare.
Which brings us to the operational layer and the third tool analyzed by Peakpod AI, which is N8N.
Now, advanced listeners are probably already familiar with standard automation tools. The basic, if this, then that logic.
Right, like a webhook triggers when a form is submitted, and an API call sends that data to a Google Sheet.
Exactly. It's deterministic routing. But the problem is, deterministic automation is incredibly brittle.
Brittle is the exact right word for it, because if something unexpected happens, it just snaps.
Totally. Deterministic systems require perfect inputs. They expect data to arrive in a very specific, structured format, like a standardized JSON payload.
And if the input changes even slightly, or if the data is unstructured, the whole automation breaks.
And let's face it, humans are notorious for producing messy, unstructured data.
Oh, always. So let's look at a concrete scenario to illustrate how N8N actually changes this. Imagine a customer sends an email to your support address, and it's not a simple request.
It never is.
Right, it's a 3-paragraph ramble. In the first paragraph, they complain about a billing error from last month. In the second, they ask a highly specific technical question about your product's new feature.
Okay.
And in the third paragraph, they ask to reschedule their onboarding call for next Tuesday. Now, a traditional rigid automation tool looks at that wall of text, fails to find a simple trigger, and just dumps the whole thing into a human support queue.
Because a traditional automation tool cannot parse intent. It just sees text.
So how does N8N handle that differently?
Well, N8N introduces a cognitive layer into the workflow by integrating LLM agents directly between the triggers and the API actions.
Oh, okay. So instead of just moving data from point A to point B, the workflow routes the raw email into a language model node.
Exactly. We're treating the LLM as an intelligent router.
So the N8N workflow essentially prompts the AI agent, like, read this email, extract the core intents, and output the data as structured JSON.
You got it. And the AI easily parses that unstructured mess. It identifies 3 distinct issues: billing, technical support, and scheduling.
And then what?
Now, N8N can execute dynamic probabilistic routing based on that AI analysis. It can automatically ping the Stripe API to check the user's billing history and send a Slack alert to your finance lead.
Wow.
Simultaneously, it can query your internal technical documentation via another RAG setup to draft a customized, accurate response to the product question.
Okay, that's wild. What about the meeting?
It can interact with your calendar API to find an open slot next Tuesday and include a booking link right in that draft response.
And it handles that entire triage process with 0 human intervention.
0.
We are shifting from automating repetitive clicks to automating complex decision-making.
That is the core shift. The system isn't just following a rigid track anymore. It is making cognitive evaluations at each node of the workflow.
I mean, it allows a single operator to wield the logistical capability of a 50-person agency.
It really does. By embedding AI agents into your operational workflows, you decouple your business's growth from your own personal time constraints.
You construct an asynchronous backend that resolves issues, updates databases, and communicates with clients, all while you focus on deep work.
Exactly. It's about working smarter, not harder.
This completely redefines the concept of a tech stack. The tools Peakpod AI analyze, they aren't just software applications, they are cognitive utilities.
That's a great way to put it. Perplexity operates as your research department, synthesizing the world's knowledge.
Bolt.new acts as your engineering team, translating your natural language into functional architecture.
And Enant serves as your chief operating officer, navigating the messy, unstructured reality of daily operations through these AI-driven workflows.
We are essentially watching the friction of execution approach zero.
We really are. And, for generations, the ability to execute, to manually gather data, to write the syntax, to route the information, that was the primary bottleneck to innovation.
Organizations hired armies of people simply to maintain the machinery of execution.
But if the machine is now entirely capable of operating itself, right? If the manual labor of typing and coding and clicking is abstracted away by conversational command, it forces a fairly profound reevaluation of our own utility.
It really does. If the execution of an idea takes seconds and costs fractions of a cent, then execution is no longer a premium skill.
It becomes a commodity.
So what remains uniquely valuable?
The genesis of the idea itself. I mean, think about it. In a world where AI systems can retrieve any answer, build any structure, and automate any process, the most critical human skill is no longer knowing the right answers.
It is the ability to ask the right questions.
Exactly. Does having a unique vision become the most valuable thing you can possess? I think so.
It's the ability to define the parameters of the problem. You are no longer the manual transmission grinding the gears to move the vehicle forward. You are the navigator.
The tools are ready to do the heavy lifting. Your only imperative is to figure out exactly where to point them.
So as we round up this deep dive, take a hard look at your workflows this week. Identify the friction and start handing over the manual labor. Go out there, ask better questions, and let the systems work for you.